Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you. Like electing the President of India. That's right, we are going to talk about the top figurehead of India, the first citizen, the person who reads out speeches that the government writes, the person who gets to live in a giant palace, the one who can do cool photo shoots there, the one who also gets this amazing cavalcade, and the person who gets to press a big red button once in a while. No, that's not a call that he can take. No, that's not a call he can take either.
Officially launched the GST.
Yeah, that's kind of all the power that he has, really. In return for doing all of this, the president gets 5 lakh rupees in salary during their time in the palace. After retirement, they also get 1.5 lakh monthly pension, free electricity, water, travel, car, driver, and a house with 8 bedrooms up to 4,500 square feet anywhere in the country. So, the term of our current president Ramnath Kovind is ending and a new person is going to take his place. On 18th July, voting will happen and we will have a new president on the 21st. So today I am going to tell you about our president, how they are elected, and what sort of powers do they have. Okay, so here is the information on who can be president, and here are his powers. Okay, that's all I have for you in this week's Sansad Watch. Bye bye forever.
The subscription model.
Kidding. वो अपील बाद में देख लेना, but subscribe right now. Pause, go to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button and pay to keep news free, because here on News Laundry, we tell you things that go beyond the basic stuff that was taught to you in school. For the president, other than these starter pack details that I just told you, there are interesting complicated bits that you need to know about. First up, let's talk about how the president is elected. Step 1. 50 people propose a name and 50 others second it. These 100 people need to be either an MLA or an MP. Step 2. Once the nominations are in, elections are held. MPs and MLAs from all states and union territories can vote. Step 3. Whoever gets more than 50% votes gets to be president. Yeah. Right now, we have a total of 4,809 electors. Things get complicated a bit because it's not just one vote per person. There is a formula to calculate the weight of the vote. For MLAs, it's this formula. Yeah. For MPs, it's this formula. Process kar lo thoda sa. Main pause karega. Oh, by the way, the population here is taken from the 1971 census, from 50 years ago. This bit of ridiculousness aside, what this formula ensures is that MPs make up for 50% of the total vote value and MLAs make up the other 50%. Collectively, they cast 10,86,431 votes. Here's what the votes look like state-wise. This is the state-wise electoral college votes for presidential elections. The blue marks density of votes. Okay, so Uttar Pradesh has 1,60,124 votes. States like Maharashtra have 96,600 votes. Then there were middling states like Telangana, which have 32,508 votes. Delhi has 11,060 votes. Goa has 2,900. Sikkim has 1,624 votes. Sikkim 1624, Uttar Pradesh 1,60,124. While Uttar Pradesh is deciding who the president of India is, states like Sikkim with lesser votes can decide who the RWA president is, I guess. At this moment, there are two main candidates that are fighting it out for 10 lakh plus votes. The NDA candidate is Draupadi Murmu, an administrator who hails from the Santhal community. She was a teacher before entering politics, has been the BJP MLA from Rairangpur in Mayurbhanj, Odisha twice, and she was also the vice president of BJP's Scheduled Tribes Morcha. In 2015, she was appointed as the first woman governor of Jharkhand. The UPA candidate is Yashwan Sinha. He is an ex-IAS officer who resigned in 1984 and joined the Janata Dal. He joined the BJP in 1992. He has previously served as the Minister of Finance and Minister of External Affairs during the Vajpayee BJP government. He quit the BJP in 2018 and joined TMC in 2021. Sinha was the fourth choice for UPA after NCP chief Sharad Pawar, NC leader Farooq Abdullah, and former West Bengal Governor Gopal Krishna Gandhi declined being the nominees. Looking at the current situation of votes, Murmu as president is pretty much a given. NDA and pro-BJP parties have 56.3% of the vote share after BJD, JMM and YSRCP extended their support. If Murmu wins, then she will have certain powers as the president, which we need to talk about. As I said, the school books mention these, but there are a lot more. The constitution lists various roles of the president under scattered articles. But to understand the role and limitations of the president, we need to dig deeper. Let's start with Article 74. It says that a council of ministers with the Prime Minister at the head will aid and advise the president, and the president has to act according to this advice. The president can ask the government to reconsider this advice, but once it comes back to them, the second time they can't ignore it. There is a popular saying that you must have heard about. The president is just a rubber stamp only. That is because of this Article 74. You must be wondering, but why is he a rubber stamp? Let us go back to the time when the Constitution was being made. See this exchange from 23rd May 1949. The president asks, I have my doubt if this word could bind the president. This word meaning in the next exercise of his functions. This is a phrase that appears in the article we are talking about. President says, it does not say that the president will be bound to accept that advice. Ambedkar replies, if he does not accept the advice of the existing ministry, he shall have to find some other body of ministers to advise him. He will never be able to act independently of ministers. Not just Ambedkar, but multiple members of the Constituent Assembly felt that the parliament should be the one taking decisions, not the president, because handing power to one person would be too much power. And since the parliament and the cabinet are the people's mandate, the president must listen to them. What that means is technically the president is bound to take the advice of the council, and if they don't agree with each other, then the president better find a new council. That can only be done through fresh elections. Kafi extreme step. In fact, our first president Rajendra Prasad and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru had some run-ins about this. Long story short, between 1952 and 1956, the Hindu Code Bill was being introduced and passed by the first parliament. But Prasad didn't agree with some parts of it. He believed that it would damage some long-held Hindu traditions. Nehru, with his true blue secular soul, pushed it through anyway. Prasad wrote a letter to Nehru asking for clarity about what his role was and what acting on the advice of the council really means. Nehru wrote back saying, the moment the president refuses to accept its council of ministers' aid and advice, there will be a breakdown of the constitutional machinery. The president's role as per Article 74 of the Constitution was to perform all functions whatsoever on the aid and advice of the council of ministers, as it was the council which was made collectively responsible for the house of the people. So yeah, from Nehru till date, Article 74 has shackled all presidents into taking advice only and only from the council. But the president does have two very special powers which makes the post important. First, we have the all-powerful Article 352, which says that if the president is satisfied that a grave emergency exists whereby the security of India or of any part of the territory of India is threatened, then they can proclaim a state of emergency. During a national emergency, many fundamental rights of Indian citizens can be suspended, including the right to freedom. All the powers that the state governments have are taken away and given to the parliament, forming a unitary top-down system of government. Also, the term of Lok Sabha can be extended for an additional year. Now, it is super unclear whether the president can actively resist declaring an emergency because this superpower has only been used once. That was back in 1975 when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi literally handed President Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad a letter with top secret written on it, telling him to declare an emergency. This book reveals that there was some internal debate on whether the president should sign the order. His own secretary told him that he was bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers. But the fun part is that even Indira Gandhi's cabinet had no clue what was going on. It was all very top secret. The president was like, what advice? What advice? So, on the fateful night of June 25th, 1975, President Ahmed went inside a room, spoke to the Prime Minister, and 10 minutes later came out with a signed order. The book says that he later took a tranquilizer and fell asleep. Think about it. What would have happened if he didn't sign it? The president has to be convinced that there is a threat level midnight situation that can only be solved by declaring an emergency, like a war. So, if the president is not convinced, can they say no? Would they do that? All of these questions are irrelevant because we have only one example of a president following through with the dictator and going the Nike way of just doing it. But you never know, maybe the next one will be different. Who knows these things? Okay, let's move on to the second power. Article 123 gives the president power to promulgate ordinances when the parliament is not in session. What this means is that a law can be temporarily passed on an emergency basis without consulting the parliament. After the parliament comes back from the inter-session break time, then the law has to be brought in, discussed and voted on. But during the break time, the law is actually active. Just like the emergency, this is a power that is supposed to be used only during extraordinary situations. Emergencies. Well, supposed to be. Since the beginning of first Lok Sabha in 1952, 637 ordinances have been promulgated. That's about 9 laws per year without the approval of parliament. If you just look at the last two governments, the UPA government had promulgated 61 ordinances between 2004 and 2014. The Modi government, since its time in office from 2014 till 2021, has passed 76 bills through the ordinance route. That's 137 times that the laws were cleared without the approval of the parliament. Do you remember the 137 times in the last 17 years that India was experiencing an emergency situation? Help me out here because I don't remember 137 times that happened. People in the constituent assemblies were also worried about the misuse of this power. Look at it. Katie Shah says, most of us, I am sure, view with a certain degree of dislike or distrust the ordinance-making power vested in the chief executive, which is the president. However we may clothe it, however it may be necessary, however much it may be justified, it is a negation of the rule of law. It is not legislation passed by a normal legislature and yet would have the force of law which is undesirable. Here is what Sardar Hukum Singh says. We are making our president the constitutional head and we are investing him with powers which appear dictatorial. Conventions would grow slowly, and as this constitution is written and every detail is being considered, why should we leave this fact to caprice on whim of any individual, however high he may be? These people had vision. These are visionaries. Today we have poets.
Go Garona. Go Garona. Garona go. Garona go. Garona go. Garona go.
So the question comes up again whether the president can say no to passing an ordinance. Going by past trends, it looks like they can't. In fact, the Supreme Court has also said that issuing ordinances again and again is a fraud on the Constitution. This was after Pranab Mukherjee, on the advice of the Prime Minister Modi's cabinet, cleared the land acquisition bill 3 times. It was like the parliament would go on a break, the president would pass an ordinance to allow the law to be used, then the parliament would resume and the law would go away. Then the parliament went on a break again and the ordinance was cleared again. And that happened 3 times for 2 years. The Land Acquisition Act, which did not have the approval of Parliament, was active for 164 days. Seriously, that happened. This is why the president plays an important role in our democracy. If a president really wants to, they can prevent abuse of their own powers by the cabinet of ministers. But it's still tricky because, after all, the president is still a rubber stamp. Let's hope the next one that comes in at least tries and stops being one. And that would be unprecedented. Get it? That's all I have for you in this week's Sansad Watch. Next time someone tells you that the president is a useless post, share this video with them. Because it's really time we stop saying that. Remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, you need to watch it first. And this includes the president's speech which the government writes for him. Just watch it. Thank you so much for watching Sansad Watch. I have some personal update. I am resigning from newslaundry. I've already resigned from newslaundry. When you watch this, it would be my last week at newslaundry. So this is practically the last Sansad Watch episode I will be doing for the foreseeable future. Will I come back? I don't know. What am I going to do next? I don't know. But I just wanted to thank you all for watching all the stuff that I've created over the last 5 years. Constitution Season 1, Season 2, this show, cheat sheets, and also listening to the podcast that I've helped with and reading my articles. You have been a wonderful audience, and I wanted to thank our subscribers, especially our subscribers, for making all of this possible. 5 years ago, Abhinandan Sekhri gave a job to a supremely noob person who had no idea how to be in front of a camera, how to, be a journalist or anything for that matter. I just knew how to do this garbage, which is read shit and tell you about it in a simple way. Well, we managed to do something of it over the past 5 years, so I'm really happy about that. I hope you had also got some value out of it. I hope you learned something, and I hope that going forward I can do more things which can add more value to your life. Thank you so much. This is me signing off.
The subscription model is something that keeps newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो, मेरे खर्च पर आजाद है खबरें.